There's a couple days in the summer, it's a really hot area, and how it feels temperature got up to like 130 degrees. So that was a little rough. I think one of the biggest ones is interpersonal skills, like people skills, I guess. I'm relatively outgoing, but not nearly as much as you need to be for a mission, so now I feel a lot more comfortable meeting new people and just, talking with people. I played piano a lot there. Yeah, I've played a lot during my life, but I learned a lot of things about like improv and stuff while I was there, so that's fun. The good things, there's a ton of fruit down there that's just absolutely wonderful that they don't have anywhere else in the world. My favorite one is called kupuasu. It kind of looks like, it's like brown and about that big, kind of looks like a football. And you make it into like cream or juice. That was definitely my favorite. There's one in my areas that had ice cream of kupuasu. So that was awesome. But yeah, they have wonderful fruits down there. I love fruit. As for the other end, I guess, there are some weird stuff they eat down there, like oxtail, and there's this thing called mokoto, where you kind of have like a bone, you suck the marrow out, and some interesting stuff like that. They cook it with the meat, so it's not, it kind of takes on that flavor. Like there are some people, like some missionaries that get robbed and stuff. I never got robbed. Probably the scariest experience I had was I was with another American, and there's always kids playing soccer and stuff in the street. And so my companion was really good at soccer. He played on club team and stuff, and just like, hey, let me juggle the ball a little. So he starts doing some tricks and stuff. And as he finishes and passes the ball back to the kids, a really big guy with a tire iron in his hand walked up to us. So we were a little bit nervous about that. And he said, hey, I can do more than that American can do. And he tried to juggle. He had like two, and then he like missed the ball. And we just kind of walked away. But that was a little intimidating. And there's lots of people, like I said, with guns, with drugs, with all sorts of stuff. But they treat missionaries with respect generally. So you'll see all sorts of stuff in Rio. Like we saw a pig eating trash like on the street. We saw like all sorts of I don't know. You never know what you're going to see there. So we were tracked in this area, knocked on a door, and then all of a sudden I saw like a monkey up in the tree. I hadn't seen any monkeys in Brazil yet. I'd been there like a year and a half, so I was super excited, super cool. So I got my camera out and taking a picture, and as I'm taking a picture and my Argentinian companion's like looking up, this old guy opens the door, and so it's a little bit not supposed to look like a tourist, right? But he's like, I was like, oh yeah, I just saw the monkey, I thought it was cool. So he invited us in and took us up on his balcony, and he, as his wife cut up a banana, and he showed us how to feed him to the monkeys. So that was a super cool experience. It's really fun. Focus on the one, I guess. That's something that I've always found to be really important, because sometimes we feel like we want to help everybody, make a big difference, and not everyone can make a huge difference in the world as a whole, but we can all make a huge difference in the lives of individuals. And that was definitely one of the biggest lessons that I learned, to be able to help those certain people that were really needing it with their problems and with their struggles. Definitely don't bring a whole lot of long sleeve shirts. I used one mostly just for baptisms. Short sleeves the way to go down there. And light fabric pants, like not thick fabric, that's for sure. It's really hot. Like unless you get like the highest end mosquito repellent, it's not going to do anything, because the mosquitoes down there are a lot more intense than up here. I don't know, pack light. Definitely pack as light as you can, because things are pretty cheap down there in general, and it's horrible carrying suitcases around a transfer meeting and stuff, so pack light. Definitely study, preach my gospel a lot. The better you know that, the better you'll be prepared to get into the missionary work, and also just start sharing the gospel right now, because at first it's a little bit intimidating, I guess, a lot intimidating, I know, but if you start practicing right now, start inviting your friends to church activities and giving away a Book of Mormon or two, then it'll be a lot easier once you get down there and you're a full-time missionary. Keep with the good habits that you gained on the mission. Keep studying the scriptures, keep trying to share the gospel with everyone around you. I mean, the hardest thing for me was when you're on your mission, you're focusing on everyone else. You don't even really think about yourself. When you get back, you have to think about yourself, because you have to think about your college, your career. You have to get phone, whatever else. But just keep up the good habits. I think that's the most important thing. Don't fall into old bad habits. Don't fall out of those traditions that you've been doing throughout your mission. One of the most spiritual experiences I think I had was we actually found this lady while we were street contacting. And mostly when you street contact or tract, you meet someone that way, very few of those people will actually continue in the church, get baptized and all that. But this woman that we found, she accepted our visits. She lived in someone else's house. We had our lessons outside on the porch. And she's extremely timid, extremely. Like, she was comfortable with us, but that was one of the scariest things for her about going to church, was there would be other people there. But as we taught her about the Book of Mormon, she seemed really interested, and then we gave a copy to her and invited her to read it. When we came back, she said she'd all of her spare time she was reading the Book of Mormon. She talked to her current pastor about the church. He gave her a bunch of anti-Mormon literature, which is pretty common down there. But as we kind of explained some different things to her, she seemed to really understand and feel the Spirit. And it's kind of an interesting experience. She's really timid, but she went back and she more or less threw that stuff back in, at the pastor and said, no, I know this is true. This paperwork you gave me about, against the church, I know it's wrong. I know I'm doing the right thing. And, for someone so shy, that was really a neat experience for us to hear about. And as she continued to go to church, and she accepted the baptismal date, and on the night of her baptism, she asked me to baptize her. And she was really nervous. She's really shy. But we had the font broke, so we filled it with buckets. All that stuff kind of happens right at the last minute, but it all worked out. And as she was baptized and afterwards, I felt just such an extreme joy. It just kind of hit me, I guess. I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit of the joy that Heavenly Father felt that night. And as I asked her afterwards how she felt, and she said, even though the water was cold, I didn't really feel the cold, because there was a fire inside of me. And it was just such a special experience. And after that, she was wanting to share the gospel with everybody. She asked for pass along cards, for pamphlets. We gave her a huge stack, and she said, "This is it," And she was on fire. For a timid person, she wanted to go out and help other people feel what she was feeling. So it's a really, really special experience. Something else I learned on my mission is that we're supposed to invite others to come into Christ, all others. We're supposed to help everyone come into Christ, not just people who aren't members. And there's this one member, one of my wards, she has lupus, which is a very severe disease. It attacks all of your organs, and so she usually couldn't come to church. Sometimes when it wasn't hurting as much, she'd come, but so we started visiting her weekly, just to keep her, leave a message with her, keep her positive, bring the sacrament to her when she needed it, on the Sundays. And we really created a bond with her as we were able to help her. And at one point, after a doctor visit, the doctor told her that the lupus was coming back, because it had kind of been in remission for a little while, but it was coming back, and she'd have to start the treatment all over, which is really, really painful and difficult treatment. So she was, we had felt prompted to pass by that day, and that was the day she was needing it. She asked me to give her a blessing, and as I gave her a blessing, I felt like I should say that the sickness would leave her body. And I kind of hesitated for a second, because it's pretty serious disease, and I didn't want to give her false hope or anything. But I followed the Spirit, I said that, and I didn't really understand how that would happen. I mean, I know with God everything's possible, but just last week, I was talking with her on Facebook, and she said that the disease had gone to sleep is the word they use, which means that it's not just in remission, it's in like a deeper remission, I guess. And it's really rare for it to come out of that. And she reminded me of that day that I'd given her that blessing and what I had said. And that just was a huge testimony to me of the Spirit, guiding our words in any situation where we're helping other people. I think one of the biggest ones is there's two words that are pretty similar, just the accent. So like there's coco and coco. And coco is a coconut. Coco is like poop. So that's kind of a funny one if you mess up.